Hey, I'm happy to have you here. In our weekly report, we're going to go over the ABCs, aluminum, brass, copper, and steel, other information. If you have any questions, ask us while we're going live. This way we can talk about them, answer your questions, and get into what really matters inside the scrap metal world.
Scrappers, quick vote. Should we talk about aluminum first or copper first? Think about that. Comment while I give you a quick intro. Here we are. It is Wednesday, August 26, 2026. Markets have been really stable and strong over the last week. We're going to talk about different things today, from the aluminum markets to copper markets, steel markets, the update on some of the oil industries. We'll go from there. We're live 1 p.m. Eastern. If you do have any questions, by all means, feed those over and we'll be able to get you some answers back. What's going on with these markets? Steel markets, we'll just talk about that briefly, really kind of steady as it goes. We haven't seen a lot of movement on steel. We haven't seen a lot of things going up, going down, just kind of staying steady. Unfortunately, diesel prices are still super high, transport super high. I had to pay 45% more to move a load to the same place yesterday. So just shows that these and that was over a 2-year period, maybe a 2-year period, almost 50% more. So obviously diesel prices are getting really high up there. Transportation costs are up there, but steel prices not moving. So what do we have any votes real quick? Aluminum or copper first? Aluminum or copper? Neither. Neither. We'll go with copper. Actually, no, I'll go with something that may be more interesting to you, and it's aluminum. We stopped doing some of the buy, hold, or sell things. I'm going to tell you, if you're going to take anything out of this conversation today, take this. I would be selling any and all aluminum that you have, and let me tell you why. We have seen aluminum prices come down by about 10% in the last month and a half. But last week, the United States was negotiating with Canada. It looked like we were going to have a positive agreement, less tariffs, more trade. And if that happened, I expected aluminum prices to go down by about 15 to 20% because the Canadians take a lot of aluminum in, refine a lot of aluminum, and then sell us a lot of aluminum, whether it's raw, refined, or in part form. Well, Friday came and went. No agreement put. A lot of people throwing jabs at each other. Canadians and the United States are now going to be implementing multiple tariffs, and the aluminum prices are going to stay a little higher here in the United States because we're not shipping them out and because there's going to be less material coming in, and the material that's coming in has a tariff slapped on it. So that's what pushed the prices higher. If we see an agreement come today, next week, in the next 2 months, we will see aluminum prices do that original 15 to 20% drop. So if for some reason you've been holding on to aluminum, please don't. I actually sold a load of aluminum last Friday before this happened, just so I could lock in some higher prices. Then I didn't have to because nothing changed over the weekend. But what I see going on right now on the aluminum side of things, high side is today. Low side could be 15 to 20% down from here. So sheet aluminum national averages, according to reported prices, around 60 cents or so. So you pull, 10 cents a pound off of that, you could be looking at prices closer to 50 cents in the next few days next few weeks or months, and not the 60, 65 level that we're at right now. So you can certainly keep that in mind. Copper prices. Whoa. Copper prices yesterday went up about 11 cents a pound. Unfortunately, that entire 11 cents was wiped out in today's market. But here's what's really interesting. I talked to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 different traders this week. Every single one of them believes that copper prices are going to hit $7 per pound in September. Whether they sustain or not, they don't know, but all indicators are showing us that copper could be hitting that $7 level. In fact, yesterday, some of the December contracts for copper started to trade in the 681, 682 price range, which is just a hot day or two away if things went upwards from hitting that $7 mark. Now, with those prices going up, we did see spreads widen a little bit by 3 or 4 cents a pound. So if scrap yards were selling, I'm just making up for 10 cents under COMEX, I wish I'd sign up for that immediately. Maybe they're going to be selling for 13 cents less. So we did see a little widening of the markets, but copper's been unbelievably resilient, unbelievably strong, and we've seen just solid numbers ticking up all the way since March. Last week on Thursday, we saw the markets bottom around 643 per pound. And like I mentioned yesterday, before the December numbers kicked in, we saw around 671, 672 per pound. So just in a 4-day period, we saw almost a 30-cent swing. Those are really big indicators to me, showing the growth of the markets. The problem is, where's the demand coming from? Because these are being trader driven. You shouldn't have 11 cents up one day and 11 cents down the next day. That doesn't make physical material moving sense. And that's why I've said for so many months and years, traders are now controlling the copper markets more than actual consumers of copper. And it becomes really, really difficult to really put a finger on these things and gauge out where they're going to be going. So that's another thing that I've been following relatively closely. Tungsten carbide markets. I talked about this briefly last week. In not 1 but 2 days, we will be seeing an export ban on tungsten materials. And that really stinks for the markets because it eliminates the exporting of these items, which eliminates pricing coming from outside of the United States, which severely brings down the amount of pricing influence. If you had exporters now competing against domestic buyers, well, you could push prices up. Now you just have export off to the side, domestic buyers over here. That doesn't mean that we couldn't see that get pulled back, but we're 2 days away, and it seems like we're taking a hard stance on that as a government. And what we've seen is carbide prices returning to the same levels they were a year ago when no one was complaining. So we're seeing these markets in a relatively strong position, considering that we've eliminated the export markets. We could certainly still bring materials into the country, but more of those materials are not going to be unrefined goods. They're going to be finished products, which cost more money, which will have tariffs slapped on them. So, what we were seeing was a lot of these tungsten oxides coming into the country to be able to be put into manufacturing. Now we're going to see less of those oxides and more of the finished products. And again, it just stinks because it's going to hurt some of the negotiating power when it comes to tungsten alloys and carbide products. So again, these are just things that are out there as well. But the team over at rrcarbide.com continuing to quote and hold prices. We have lots of different bins that we can send to you. So if you're a machinist, if you're someone that knows a machinist that works with carbide, reach out to us. We provide free shipping labels, free boxes, and then we do those price locks as always. On a dollar term right now, the U.S. dollar has been weakening. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're now looking at the U.S. dollar and we're seeing more money flowing. Instead of being invested in the U.S. dollar, we're seeing it being invested more in silver, gold, and some of the other precious metals. I'll pause for a second. The value of copper is stable. The value of paper money is going down. Exactly right, David. The people investing or buying U.S. dollars is going down. That's why we've seen gold, silver, and precious metal prices increasing, because people are putting their money in more of a worldwide product. And that's why we've actually seen some things like Bitcoin increasing, not only from the potential legislation, but because people are like, well, the U.S. dollar is weakening. 40 trillion in debt will certainly do that to you. That's not a party thing. That's a politician problem that we got ourselves into. But we've now seen, these other markets starting to have a little bit of an uptick. We're going to continue to watch and monitor those very, very astutely. So other than that, we've seen a lot of people reporting prices. A lot of prices have been increasing. But really watch for the aluminums and the coppers. I mean, if you want to wait for another 30-cent increase on copper prices, by all means, go for it. Would I? No. When you're at all-time high prices or 3 or 4% all-time high prices, what are you waiting for? Unload all of that hard work, sell the material that you have, get that cash, and move on with your day. So scrappers, that's what's going on with the markets. Hopefully this helps you. Don't forget to update the app, download the app if you haven't already, and post your prices when you sell things to your scrap yards to help the national price averages as well. Any other questions, let us know. Until next week,